Hello everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how to navigate through the user interface of Autodesk Maya. Yours might pop open a little bit different, and I will show you, because I've already started recording the course. I'm just coming back to record some of these videos on the before you begin section. So the first thing I can show you really quickly, because this is how I model in Maya. This background, I changed the background, and this is the first thing I'm going to show you. Holding Alt and tapping B changes your colors, basically, right? So the one I model in is this one. This is my favorite. They used to have this as the default, and I believe only viewport you could kind of see this in. But I like how it gradients down to black, and as you begin modeling, I actually explain it to you in one of the videos. But so Alt B changes the viewport color. So holding Alt, and you can see it in the bottom left corner down here on my keyboard. Holding Alt and tapping B. So with that being said, I'm just going to show you what we're primarily going to be using this semester. So I don't want to get you confused in any way. So if you're especially if you're brand new to Maya, most of you will be, and if you've used Maya before, you can probably skip this video, but you might pick something up if you don't. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and show you some basic things. So Autodesk Maya 2025, I have our first practice lab up, and primarily this tab, we're going to be in the modeling tab probably 90% of the time, if not more. So make sure you switch to modeling if it doesn't open default like that. After you've already opened Maya too, for the first time, if you've ever used Maya before, it'll come up with something that says, would you like to import previous settings from previous versions of Maya, or something along the lines of that. You can click yes if you've used it and you're comfortable with it. However, the other option you have is to create Maya's default workspace, blah, 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 blah. So default settings, and that's what we're going to be using, so everyone's on the same page. Now, with that being said, I've got my modeling tab here. Primarily, this is probably going to be the one that opens first, but this poly modeling little folder, so you'll notice these little sub tabs here, right? We're going to be in the poly modeling tab a majority of the semester. There's so much to cover with this software that I can only cover so much, and we're going to cover modeling and animation primarily, 3D modeling and animation. But there is a this is such a powerful software that it's able to do so much. It would be impossible to teach you everything in here. So with that being said, we'll be in the poly modeling tab a large majority of the time. These are your sort of startup generic shapes that we're going to be utilizing often. And then these are some customized tools. Now, I touch base on what each one does individually as the semester goes on, as we're doing and using them in labs. So I'm going to just not go into detail on those right now. The workspace should be under general. If it looks weird, you can always do reset current workspace or select any one of these other ones, but I'm in this general tab. I know mine looks probably slightly different, like you don't have probably the outliner or tool settings, and I actually show you that in another video. And I think it's the very first lab, practice 1, that I show you how I set up my Maya. But if you're curious, you go to Windows, this is the outliner, and then the tool settings is over here. Show hide tool settings, which I have over here, and you can actually, it'll pop up in a separate window. You can actually click and drag it into spots. Same thing with the channel box, attribute editor, modeling toolkit. This UV toolkit we get to week 6, maybe 5, 6, 7, something like that. So the only ones you'll need over here, which is probably the ones that pop up by default when you open Maya for the first time is the channel box attribute, and possibly the modeling toolkit, but they're all located up here. Show hide channel box. So if these disappear for any reason when you're working in Maya, you can always go right back up here and toggle them on and off. And this is your attribute editor, and your modeling toolkit is this one with a little hammer. And you can click and drag these all over here onto the side. We'll get to the UV toolkit way later, so ignore that for now. In order to move around your scene, oh, and you have layers down here similar to Photoshop, except we're not going to dive too far into layers, but I'll touch base on it. Just so you know, right now I have our first lab on here, and I can toggle that on and off, and I show you how to create layers and things like that later. Your timeline is located down here for setting keyframes for animation, which we will get to. That'll be more towards the second half of the semester. The first half is modeling, texturing, unwrapping primarily, and then the second part of the semester we get into animation, layers, and things like that. So anyway, I'll probably show you this a million times, but in order to move around your workspace in your scene here, holding Alt and holding left click allows you to rotate around. And you notice this little shape up here to show you which direction you are facing. And actually your XYZ down here in the bottom left will show you which direction you're facing as well, if you're wondering which axes you're on. But don't worry about that. Holding Alt and middle mouse button click will allow you to pan. Now, if you're on a Mac and you're using a Magic Mouse, you're not able to pan. So you might want to, if you're using a Mac, might want to switch mouses if you're using a Magic Mouse, because I've tried it myself. I was very disappointed when I learned about it, that I couldn't use my Magic Mouse for Maya very efficiently. But holding Alt and middle mouse button click will move me around like so. Holding, and that's pan. Holding Alt and holding right click allows me to zoom in and out. Okay, so those are the primary things that you'll be utilizing this semester. So while I'm at it, I'm going to show you one really quick keyboard shortcut, if that is so useful. So if you find yourself like lost in your scene and you have your object selected and you're like, oh man, I can't get to the right point, it's too difficult. It's so, especially when you're new, it's hard to navigate really quickly because you're just getting used to the controls. Tap with your object selected, tap F on your keyboard, and it'll zoom you right in on that object, just so you know. So I have this object selected. I can show you real quick. Here's your channel box, your translates, your scales, your rotates, blah, 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 blah. Under your attribute editor, you have all these different attributes here. And under your modeling toolkit, since I mentioned it already, it shows you a lot of the same tools you have right here. However, you have a lot more, so soft selection and things like that. So there's other options, and we get to that later. Other than that, while I'm at it, the outliner will show you everything in your scene. So your 4 viewports, I'm going to tap spacebar. Actually, let me go here. If you go to panel layout, this will show you 4 different viewports. If I tap here, it'll show you your perspective view. These by default will show you different camera viewports as well. However, we're going to be primarily in the 4 or the perspective viewport. Now, the other thing you can do is tap spacebar. And wherever your mouse is hovering over will zoom you into like full screen mode, I guess you call it, on whatever one you're hovering over that you're working in. So perspective view is your perspective view. Your top, you can only pan and zoom, you cannot rotate. Same thing here on your front, and same thing here on your side, can't rotate, only pan and zoom. Other than that, I've really showed you the core things of the user interface. that we'll be utilizing this semester. Now this tab here, I'm going to just run through these other sections. Rigging, if you were doing some character rigging or even rigging of an object. An object that comes to mind might be like the Pixar light that kind of hops across the screen and then like bounces on the letter once or 3 times. You could do some rigging for animation with that. And these are all the different tools and things like that. You even have a rigging tab here. These are joints and things, but we'll touch base on that later. Animation is your animation tab. We get to this later, but here's all your tools, and you'll notice all of these change as I run through. FX, if you're adding particle effects or fluids or cloth or hair, constraints, things like that, you're able to do that. Rendering, this is actually rendering out an image of your scene. So when you have a completed model, it's textured and unwrapped and you have some animation or something, you might want to render out a video, which I show you on the second part, how to render out a scene, which is what we'll be using Adobe Premiere for just literally, I think it's 1 lab. So they offer a 7-day trial. And anyway, you can also use any other video editing software you'd like. I just show you how to do it in Premiere because it's kind of a standard, right? But I know Mac probably has its own editing software already built into it. I believe Windows does too, but I'm going to show you using Premiere because it's sort of a production standard type of software. Other than that, I don't have too much more to dive into. I just wanted to give you a quick run through. These are selection tools here on the left. These are your viewport buttons over here, but again, you have the keyboard shortcut of just hovering over and tapping spacebar to jump between them all. Other than that, that's all I've got for you right now. If you have questions, concerns, anything, shoot me a message on Canvas inbox. I'll be more than happy to respond to you. If you have additional questions on the user interface of Maya, if there's something that I forgot to cover, please let me know. But in a nutshell, I show you literally every single thing through the lab, step by step by step, on how to achieve the end result. For instance, lab 1, I have an entire video of how I create this thing. It's a little bookshelf. It's a very beginner model, but it goes through the basics of intro to modeling. So anyway, I can't emphasize enough that if there is anything you're struggling with, questions, concerns, anything like that, just shoot me a message on Canvas inbox. It's the fastest way to get a hold of me, the fastest return in terms of response. And other than that, I hope this helped a little bit. I know it's really, really new, but it was just a quick overview on what we're working with, and we're all going to get very, very, very comfortable with this software, I promise. So other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and stay tuned for the next one.